All right, strap in everyone, because today we are going deep, really deep. We're diving headfirst into a world of sound that's like retro but futuristic at the same time. We're talking about Claudio's channel and their incredible work. With the Moog Sirin, now this is an analog synth, and get this, it's been called the synth of celestial harmonies. Yeah, and trust me, once you hear this thing, you'll totally get why they call it that. You'll discover how Claudio uses this Sirin to craft these sonic landscapes spanning genres like synthwave, retrowave, and even chillwave. So we're talking a whole spectrum of sound here. And get this, we'll even uncover how these sounds can actually like transport you back in time.
You know, what's really fascinating about all of this is that you don't actually have to be a musician to appreciate the magic that Claudio is creating here. Even if you've never, like, touched a synthesizer in your life, you've definitely heard the Moog sound before, I guaranteed it. Think about, like, iconic 80s movie soundtracks, or those fat bass lines in some of your favorite EDM tracks, or even those dreamy textures that you hear all the time in modern chillwave.
Okay, so let's get down to brass tacks here. Let's talk about the Moog Sirin itself. What is this thing, and what makes it so special?
So the Sirin is a monophonic analog synthesizer, which basically means that it can only play one note at a time. But don't let that fool ya, because this thing, it is capable of some seriously powerful, and I mean seriously powerful, sounds. It's actually based on the legendary Moog Taurus bass synth. You remember that one? But it's got a much wider range, so it can handle those deep, rumbling lows, as well as soaring ethereal highs.
Oh man, I'm already hearing those epic movie soundtracks you were talking about.
Exactly. And what gives the Sirin the distinct, almost, otherworldly sound is the fact that it's analog. Now, I don't want to get too bogged down in like all the technical jargon and stuff, but think of it this way, right? Imagine a sculptor shaping a piece of clay. That's kind of how the Sirin works, right? It starts with these raw sound waves generated by two oscillators. Think of those as the sculptor's hands shaping the clay. Then those sounds are shaped and molded by something called a filter, which is like the sculptor's tools. And then finally, you've got modulation, which is what adds in that movement and expression. Like, think of it as the sculptor adding those finishing touches, the details that really bring the whole piece to life.
Oh, okay, so the oscillators create the raw sound, the filter shapes it, and then the modulation, that adds the movement. So is that where all this, like, the celestial harmony stuff comes in?
You got it. And because the Sirin is analog, meaning it uses actual electricity flowing through circuits, right? It has this warm, rich, and almost organic quality that you just don't get with digital synths. It's like the difference between a hand-painted portrait, and a computer-generated image. Both can be beautiful in their own right, of course, but there's just something special about that human touch, that imperfection that gives analog sounds their character.
Okay, I think I'm starting to get it. But how does Claudio actually take all of this and turn it into, like, actual music? We mentioned, like, all these different genres, right? Synthwave, retrowave, chillwave. How does the Sirin fit into all of that?
Well, that's where things get really interesting, right? Claudio is a master at using the Sirin's like unique strengths to create these really distinct sonic flavors for each of those genres. So let's start with retro, EDM, and synthwave. These genres are all about capturing that classic 80s feel, those driving beats, pulsating bass lines, and those soaring melodies that just make you want to jump in a DeLorean and travel back in time.
Dude, I can already hear the neon lights and feel the wind in my hair.
Exactly. And the Sirin's architecture is just perfect for recreating those sounds, It can produce those like powerful bass frequencies that really give synthwave its energy, but with that analog warmth that sets it apart from, the more sterile digital sounds of modern EDM. It's that blend of retro and modern that makes Claudio's music so unique.
So it's like taking the best of both worlds and like fusing them together.
Precisely. But then you've got retrowave, which takes that 80s nostalgia to a whole new level.
Oh yeah, retrowave is like stepping into a classic arcade or hearing the soundtrack to like an 80s sci-fi film. It's got that extra layer of grit and atmosphere.
You're right on the money. It's all about capturing that like hazy, almost dreamlike feeling of the past. And what's cool is that Claudio uses the Sirin's filter in a very specific way to get that like dense, almost chewy texture that's so crucial to the retrowave sound. Think about those iconic Moog bass lines from like 80s films. That's the sound Claudio nails with the Sirin's filter.
So we've got the powerful lows and that modern edge for retro EDM and the dense, chewy filter work for retrowave.
what about chillwave? How does the Sirin fit into that dreamy, atmospheric world?
Well, that's where we really see the Siren's versatility shine, right? Instead of
Uh,
focusing on like the powerful bass, Claudio utilizes the Siren's high-end range to create these like ethereal pads and textures that are so characteristic of chillwave.
so those are the sounds that make you feel like you're like floating through space or, I don't know, drifting on a cloud.
Exactly. And the modulation comes into play here as well. But instead of creating those like driving rhythms, it's used to craft these slowly evolving hypnotic soundscapes that are so essential to Chillwave's atmospheric vibes.
Man, this is amazing. It's like Claudio is painting these like
Yeah.
the sonic landscapes with the Sirin,
Yeah.
using different techniques and colors to create these vastly different worlds of sound. That's a great way to put it. And what's so fascinating is that all of this, it comes from just one instrument. It really speaks to Claudio's skill as an artist, and their deep understanding of the Sirin's capabilities.
It's mind-blowing to think that just one synth can be used to create such a wide range of emotions and soundscapes. But I'm curious, how does understanding all of this techie stuff actually benefit the listener? I mean, if I'm not a musician, why should I care about oscillators and filters and all that?
That's a great question, and it's something we'll definitely explore further in our deep dive today. But for now, just consider this. Understanding the tools actually helps us appreciate the art even more. Knowing how the Sirin works allows us to hear the choices that Claudio is making, the subtle manipulations of sound that evoke specific feelings and eras. It's like understanding the brushstrokes of a painter. It deepens the experience and unlocks like a whole new level of appreciation.
So it's not just about like the tech specs, it's about how those specs are used to create something expressive and meaningful.
I like that. Okay, I'm definitely ready to dive even deeper into this. I'm hooked. I'm hooked.
But first, gotta pay those bills, right?
Yeah.
We'll be right back after a quick word from our sponsors.
And we're back. And it reminds us that even in electronic music, there's still a human element at play. There's intention behind every sound, every twist of a knob, every layer of modulation.
Yeah, so like Claudio isn't just playing notes. They're like sculpting emotions and experiences with sound.
Exactly. And speaking of emotions, that's another layer we need to kind of peel back here, Have you ever noticed how certain sounds can just instantly like transport you back to a specific time or place?
Oh, absolutely. Like that classic 80s synth sound takes me straight back to my childhood. Watching those iconic sci-fi movies with like those epic synth scores.
Yeah, you see, it's more than just nostalgia at work here. Certain frequencies, certain combinations of sounds, they can actually trigger like physiological responses in us. Think about how a minor chord can evoke a feeling of sadness or melancholy, while a major chord can like lift your spirits. It's like our bodies are wired to respond to sound in very specific ways.
Wow, I never really thought about it like that. Like there's a whole science behind how music affects us emotionally.
There is, and the Sirin with its, analog warmth and its ability to create such a wide range of sounds, it's a powerful tool for like tapping into those emotional responses. And Claudio clearly understands this and uses it to their advantage in their music.
So it's not just about creating cool sounds, right? It's about using those sounds to create an emotional connection with the listener.
Precisely. It's about crafting these sonic landscapes that can transport us to different times and places, evoke specific emotions, and even tell stories without words.
Okay, my mind is officially blown. I'm starting to hear music in a whole new way now.
That's the beauty of like a deep dive like this. It's about peeling back the layers and discovering the hidden depths, the connections between technology, artistry, and human emotion.
And what I'm realizing is that this applies even if you're not a musician, right? Even if you've never touched a synth in your life.
Yeah.
Understanding how sounds work, it can really deepen your appreciation for any kind of music.
Absolutely. We all experience music on an emotional level, whether we're like aware of the technical aspects or not. But having that extra layer of knowledge, it can enhance that experience even further.
So you're saying that by like understanding how the Sirin works and how Claudio uses it, we can like unlock a deeper level of enjoyment and appreciation for their music.
Exactly. It's like being let in on a secret. You start to hear the intention behind every sound, the subtle nuances that create those, emotional responses. It transforms listening from a passive experience into an active one.
Okay, I'm definitely starting to see that. So for those of us who are now like eager to dive into Claudio's channel
Yeah.
and experience all of this firsthand, can you remind us of the channel name and where we can find it?
Of course. You can find them by searching for Claudio's channel on YouTube, Spotify, Or any of your favorite music platforms. Trust me, you won't be disappointed.
All right, I've got my phone out, and I'm adding it to my playlist right now.
Yeah.
This has been such an incredible deep dive. We've gone from, like, the technical specs of the Sirin to the emotional impact of music. And it's all connected.
It really is, and that's what makes this so fascinating to me. It's not just about the nuts and bolts of a synthesizer, right? It's about how those components are used to create something that resonates with us on a deeper level.
It's like Claudio's channel is this, like, perfect intersection of art, technology, and human emotion. And the coolest thing is, it's accessible to all of us, right? Whether we're, like, seasoned musicians or just music lovers looking for something new and exciting.
Exactly. You don't need to be like a synth expert to appreciate the artistry and the impact of this music. Just listen with an open mind and let yourself be transported by the sound.
That's a great point. Sometimes we get so caught up in the, like, technical details that we forget to just enjoy the experience.
And with Claudio's channel, the experience is truly something special. Their music is like a testament to the power of analog synthesis and the enduring allure of retro sounds.
So before we wrap things up here, any final thoughts you'd like to leave our listeners with? Some, like food for thought, to ponder as they dive into Claudio's music.
Yeah, I love that idea, just letting the music kind of wash over you and take you somewhere new.
Well, we've talked a lot about music being like a time machine, right? How certain sounds can evoke different eras. So my question for you, and really for everyone listening, is if the Moog Sirin is a time machine, what era does it take you to? What memories, what emotions, what images pop into your head when you hear that warm analog sound? Ooh, that's a good question. I think for me, it's like a blend of 80s nostalgia, but also something else. Like I get those classic, sci-fi vibes, but there's also this sense of like the future, if that makes sense.
It absolutely makes sense. And I think that's part of what makes Claudio's music so compelling. They tap into that retro sound, but they use it to create something that feels fresh, forward-looking.
Right. It's not just rehashing the past. It's like building something new on top of those classic foundations.
Exactly. And that's a powerful idea, right? That we can use the sounds of the past to create the music of the future.
This whole deep dive has been, honestly, such a mind-expanding experience. I feel like I'm hearing music differently now, like I'm more attuned to the nuances and the emotional depth and all that.
That's what we were hoping for. And remember, this is just the beginning of your exploration, There's a whole world of sonic landscapes out there just waiting to be discovered.
Yeah, and I'm definitely feeling inspired to keep exploring. I'm already thinking about, like, other artists who use the Sirin, other genres that might tap into this retro-futuristic sound.
That's the beauty of music, right? It's an endless journey of discovery.
Well said. So, to everyone listening, I hope this deep dive has, sparked your curiosity a little bit and giving you a new appreciation for the power of sound. Be sure to check out Claudio's channel and keep those ears open for the magic of the Moog Sirin. You won't regret it.
And remember, whether you're, a musician or just a music lover, just let yourself get lost in the sound. Let it transport you, inspire you, move you.
Beautifully put. Thanks for joining us on this sonic adventure, everyone. Until next time, keep diving deep.